Good evening, everyone. I am Carla Sanders, the Cosmic Crone, and I'm here with the Lilith New Moon Divine Feminine Astrology reading. This new moon at 7:23 Cancer, Sun and Moon conjunct, is also conjunct Black Moon Lilith and pretty close to conjunct Lilith asteroid. Okay, something distracting on my screen. All right. Let me ignore that. So we are just under 6 hours away from the actual moment of the new moon. And I'm going to show you a picture of the chart. If you can see, there is a big grand square. The new moon itself is over here with the two Liliths here in Cancer. And then there's lots of flowing energy. And we're going to talk about all that. There is so much happening in this chart that I took more notes than usual. I want to stay close to what the chart says because it feels like a prescription for our times. There's a lot going on right now in the world. And right now, the world, along with especially the United States, but everybody else is paying attention. We just had 50 years of legal precedent overturned by the Supreme Court that de facto granted women the right to choose whether or not to end a pregnancy that was unintended or unwanted or ill-timed for any reason. And this is the essence of body autonomy and self-determination, to be able to make these decisions from a place of what is right for you, and having medical and health support while doing it. So we're reeling from that. And we've also got some other things going on, and they may be mentioned as I continue the reading. But what I want to talk about first is synchronicity. We are holding this collective energy, and if you've been following the Divine Feminine Astrology readings, you know that the Dark Goddess has been pounding at the gates. She has been demanding our attention. She figured in the most recent Venus retrograde, and 18 months or 2 years ago, the Venus retrograde at that point crossed her. So the Dark Goddess has been trying Pluto, communicating with Pluto over in Capricorn. And all of this is still in place. And we've been getting warnings. We knew a year ago, 2 years ago, that this moment was pretty much inevitable. And it seemed that there was nothing we could do to stop it. And so here it is. It is now a done deal. An expression of the law of the land. However, that's an appearance. It may not be the whole story. So it is synchronous, that it is an example of synchronicity that this new moon in Cancer, right after this announcement, is conjunct Black Moon Lilith and Lilith asteroid. And what do these 2 points mean? It means that the portal of the new moon is formed. It's carrying that vibration of the disowned and demonized feminine. Black Moon Lilith to me means the goddess before patriarchy, what the feminine energy that is at the beginning, at the foundation of all creation. And she is represented when she comes into form by all that the feminine, the female body, female sexuality, female fertility represents as creative power. And that is something that patriarchy instantly, as soon as patriarchy became a thing, it said, we will grab that power for ourselves and we will do whatever it takes, which involved demonizing the goddess and the divine feminine, the essence of the feminine, and then disowning the feminine, this awareness of the divine and the innate power of our wombs and our sexuality that every woman carries. And I am speaking of this binary gendered state right now for clarity, simplicity, knowing that, yeah, these things are all on a spectrum, but we're talking about principles here, the principles of creation, the principles of the universe, not our lived daily lives specifically. So we have the disowned feminine, the demonized goddess, and they are like pouring through this new moon portal. And that's a synchronicity. That is a gift to us right now. Synchronicity, I'm speaking about it because it shows up over and over again in this chart. Synchronicity, some people call it God winks, these things where, oh, that came out of nowhere. And when we ask for a sign, a lot of times we're asking, what we're doing is tapping into synchronicity on a conscious level. And we may have to wait for it to come floating by our eyes, or maybe we pull out an oracle card or a pendulum and invite it to come in directly. And I had a synchronous experience last night watching a video about the police. Sting said, synchronicity has nothing to do with order and everything to do with chaos. So right now we are feeling completely inundated by the chaos of the world, of the chaos of the patriarchy stirring things up, stealing our rights, stealing our autonomy, and waging war at every level of our existence, planetary, nationally, personally. So this chart is a prescription for how to be in that space right now. One of the things going on, let's stay with the new moon. That new moon is at 10:52 p.m. Eastern time tonight. So look up into the dark sky if you have clear skies and tune into the stars. What's going on at the time of the new moon? The new moon is also square Jupiter. Jupiter is an expander. Jupiter is taking this new moon energy and wanting to make it bigger, except that it's a square. And a square is kind of it can feel like a stuck position. It means that the timing is not quite right. It means that there is an action to take to release the energy of that square. I think it means, let the energy build before you take action. We are in a place, rather than taking outward action, the invitation from this chart, from this square to Jupiter, is to go into inner expansion, to go into developing your inner resources, your spiritual resources. In other words, carry that flame of your rage, your fear, your your voice, your scream, and bring it inside and plant it like a seed and align with your inner resources. And that means doing that collectively. We each do it individually, and we're also working with our collective, our tribes, our cohorts, our circles, our teams, our communities. Whoever is on your side, we are gathering together, and we are bringing that energy inside and allowing it to line up. So that's one prescription. This new moon is also trine Vesta, which brings another spiritual dimension to what's going on right now, to what our best resource is. Vesta is the priestess. She is in Pisces, and she is, among other things, the go-between, between the spiritual and the mundane, between the world that we live in and the world that seems beyond ourselves, that we are longing for, reaching for, our spiritual dimension. It is another dimension, another level of consciousness. And so Vesta is saying, find that other level of consciousness. She also stands for the sacred flame inside, the erotic flame. And the erotic flame is the very thing the patriarchy and these laws and rulings that are coming down the pike, that they are wanting to extinguish. Our awareness of this flame, our ability to nurture and activate this flame and use it to inform our minds, our choices, our actions, it's something that they fear. They do not understand. They would deny it. It's another thing that they've demonized, because one of the ways that we feed that flame is through our sexual feeling, our sexual sensation, and our sexual expression. And you know how varied and vast that is. Each of us has our own way of being and feeding that flame. We are as varied and beautiful in our sexual expression, our sexual being, as life itself. And so part of this effort is saying this expression must be channeled into procreation the way we tell you to, or it's a sin. Many of us grew up with that. And even if we didn't grow up in a religion that told us that, we've had the conflict of shame around our own innate beauty and power. And so we've all experienced the fallout from this. Vesta is saying, feed your flame. Feed your erotic flame, that flame upon your altar. And male and female, whatever kind of body you have this flame inside of you. And what I teach and how I understand this for my own self and for my initiates is we work with that energy in the womb. The altar where that flame lives is in the womb space, in the pelvic bowl. And that is true for male bodies as well as female bodies. Males do not have they have a different physical and energetic space, but it's still located in the pelvis. So we're working in that space with that divine feminine, that divine erotic flame, whether it carries a predominant vibration of, actually the flame itself is a merging of divine and feminine and divine masculine. It takes both to activate that flame. So as an inside working, It is working with our masculine and feminine energies. So that's going on, and that's where you need to be during this new moon window. You take this opening from this moment on, whatever time of day that new moon is, through the window. Sometimes we can do the most potent ritual after. Right now, we're feeling the squeeze. This new moon is applying, and a bunch of stuff may be coming up, because one of the things about a portal is it's a portal for clearing and releasing. And so you may be so preoccupied with the clearing and releasing aspect at the moment that that's all you can do. And that's fine. So we've got another 24 to 48 hours after the new moon where you can settle in and work with the energy in a proactive, life-giving and healing way. And so Vesta is saying, pay attention to your inner erotic flame and work with that. Jupiter is saying, expand it, but expand it on the inside. I'll help you. There's something else going on. We've got, there's a lot of things going on. The next thing I'm going to talk about is the container, the crucible. We have a grand square. A grand square is a point where it means that in each of the elements, there is a point that is square, something in all the other elements. So we've got great attractor at 14 Sagittarius in fire. Pay attention to these elements. They're important. Down in water, there is Nessus at 16. And across from the great attractor in air is Hecate, the crone. And over in earth is Psyche. Psyche is one of the wounded feminine points. She points to that part inside of us that believes we cannot heal, that, we'll never get it right. And they are making a square. Now, and this square is going to hold for several days because these points are all slow moving and a couple of them are in retrograde, so they're going to just kind of stay in this region. So what that square does is it's kind of like the square between the new moon and Jupiter. The square is saying, hold this energy. This energy is going to release, but do not see it as a trap or a binding. See it as a ritual container. The crucible. Now, it might feel like pressure, but you've got a lot of allies here. The great attractor is the great expansive divine feminine point way outside of our galaxy. Some people, even astronomers, say, if I venture to guess, I might call it God, or we might call it Goddess, because it is drawing everything to it. So it represents this vast, spiritual, sacred aspect of life that hasn't forgotten us, that is seeking us and drawing us closer in the great scope of the universe. Nessus is ancestral healing, the healing of trauma, especially to do with sexuality, sex abuse, rape, and any kind of inappropriate sexual touch, and the ramifications of that throughout a lineage. Well, I think what's going on politically is very much related to that. I'm taking it rather personally because Nessus is sitting on my natal sun right now. I think there is personal work for me to do to really take this personally inside of this cauldron of this new moon. And has been for several weeks, because good old Nessus, he moves slow. And then Hecate, she's at the crossroads. We are all at a crossroads. We have been for a long time. We're looking at it. We're saying, where are we going from here? Is this the world we want to live in? Is this the world? We have been at a crossroads environmentally for generations. And every chance we've had to make good decisions, legally, technologically, economically, for the good of all the people and the good of the earth, we've backed right off and said, nah, it's not true, it's not real, or maybe later. Hecate is always saying, you've got to choose. There are paths here, and you've got to choose your path. Well, we have chosen a path, and Hecate can't help us when we keep choosing the path. And yet, those of us who are appalled, aghast, and enraged by what's going on, and we can't pretend anymore, we can choose another path, and we can bring maybe we can bring the culture with us. I'm not sure that's the prescription, but we can make a new culture. And there's so much here that's in the realm of mystery. And then going over to Psyche, the truth, the full story of Psyche is, even though she represents what feels like it can't be healed, the fact is she did heal. She went through an initiation and became as the goddess. She changed. She changed her fate. And she did it by going within, by listening to her intuition, and by accomplishing impossible tasks with the help of divine helpers, synchronicity that came her way when she was despairing. So this is all what we find ourselves. This is the new moon inside of a crucible, with Jupiter expanding the energy while it's under pressure, and Vesta saying, use this energy to ignite and support your inner flame. There are a few more things to talk about because they're part of the medicine, and I want to bring the medicine in, but I'm going to pause right here because as I was preparing, looking at this chart and preparing, I realized we need to do some work together. And so tonight at 8 o'clock, or that's around sunset my time, I'm going to be back here doing a womb centering, and we're going to bring all these energies from these planets. I believe, I never know exactly, but my anticipation is that we will bring this chart into our womb space. And if you want to join me live around 8 o'clock, I'd love to have you. It's a guided meditation. And then the recording will be here. If you can't be here at 8, it'll be on the page so anybody can find it. I want to make this widely available. And it will also be posted up to my YouTube channel. So I want to give you an experience of this, because as I read through the way practically every planet in this chart is activated at this new moon tonight, now, as we speak. And I can talk about it, but it's overwhelming. And the real bringing it in is happening underneath what we can comprehend consciously. It is happening in a spiritual, etheric, inner realm, a different level of consciousness and awareness. So, having said that and told you what I'm available for this evening, I want to just name some of the other medicine that's happening. Let's see. Let me sort out these lines here. Okay, we have. This is a hot one, and it's kind of like a micro amplification of the grand square I just talked about. There is a conjunction at this moment between Mars and Eris, and it's been active for a while. It was active, applying when the announcement came out on Friday. And this comes to mind because I am recovering from a fever myself. It feels like fever. Mars and Eris. Mars is fire, masculine fire. And Mars, yes, he is the sacred masculine, the divine masculine, but he also has his shadow side of what we'll just call it dysfunctional masculine or out of balance masculine, which wants to run the show, that thinks that the masculine is all that matters. And in that case, he makes war and can be an aggressor. But what he really is focused energy, single focus, single-mindedness. He doesn't necessarily look at the big picture. Guess who he needs for that? He needs the feminine to look at the big picture, the vision, and to use and direct his capacity to focus and direct energy and get things done. Well, he's conjunct Eris. Eris is chaos. And what is one of the weapons of war? Causing chaos. Another weapon of war is rape. And I mention that because we've still got a war going on in the Ukraine, in case you didn't notice. There is war really going on around the world, civil wars and wars of factions and wars at dinner tables. But yes, Russia is still willing to destroy the Ukraine in order to take possession of it. And we have this capacity to forget. I have a friend who is still counting the days. I think she's up to 120 days now. Her family is in the Ukraine. And this volatile, powerful conjunction is communicating. It's singing a song to Saturn, sextile. I call that singing in close harmony. It is vibrating in a close activation with Saturn. Now, Saturn is law. Saturn is the goddamn Supreme Court and legal system and government. Saturn is the one who says, this is the rule, you can do that, you can't do this. Oh, you used to could do that, but we've decided you can't do that anymore. Saturn, yeah, that is Saturn. But that's not all that Saturn is. And I always, when I see Saturn, and I see that Saturn's power is showing up as it is now in a governmental activity, something that is harmful and dangerous and damaging, I pull Saturn's energy in. I happen to have Saturn rising. And the way that I have learned to work with that, there's shadow sides to it where I've had an interesting relationship with rules my whole life, not at all a comfortable relationship. But what I have learned, my spiritual path has taken me into the realm of ceremony and ritual and magic. And so Saturn is this square, calling in the directions, calling in the elements, calling in the entities of magic, and saying, inside this sacred space, we are working alchemy. We are creating something new. We are healing. We are changing. We are creating a ground zero and sending that energy out to shift, shift, shift. The shift starts here. Saturn is a necessary aspect of that work. And so here, right now, as we are going inside, as we are working with this new moon energy, we have this explosive chaos. Who's running the show? Is it Eris saying, hey, Mars, come here, I got a job for you? Or is it Mars saying, I'm going around and I am throwing chaos everywhere. My sword brings chaos. Someone whom I'm not going to name right now says the feminine must be stopped because everywhere she goes is chaos. I think the chaos of the feminine right now is saying, Mars, we've got a job for you. Come and work with us. Come and set up your sword to defend us at this moment when we are in ritual, because we are bringing our energy inside to stoke our erotic flame and to make some magic that we will use going forward. And then at some point, we will do battle. We will take action, and that action will be aligned with our spiritual truth, with our inner resources. And so watch for the synchronicities over and over again in the midst of chaos. We're going to see truth firing off. We're going to see guidance. How do we get through this? Well, we watch for the guidance. We watch for the signs. We watch for the openings. And we have allies. Everybody in this chart is actually an ally. So the ally, Pluto and Algol, the demonized goddess, yes, we are here for transformation. And you did not come here to do this alone, nor did you come here to die trying. And then we have, who's here? Okay, we've got Juno. Oh, I want to speak to this one for sure. Juno and Ceres are in a trine. That means their energy is flowing. Ceres, nourishment. She is in Cancer. Cancer is the sign of nourishment. Also, someone just reminded me recently, it's the cosmic womb. Well, that all of life is nourished in the cosmic womb. So Ceres is there providing nourishment and food. She's representing the earth itself here in the sign of Cancer, nest, home, womb, nourishment. And she is communicating with Juno, who is the goddess, among other things. She's the goddess of social justice and what is good for women and children. And that is the fundamental value underpinning both the foundation and the keystone of this new world of the divine feminine that we are creating. When we dismantle patriarchy, that is the shift that we're creating. So much more to say about that. But they are there. They are there saying, we are here. We are here to remind you why. We are here to give you strength. We are here to support you while you're doing this inner work. And then there is one more aspect I want to talk about, because it is another healing aspect that will be very supportive as we are working with these intense energies. Chariklo in Aquarius. Chariklo is the wife of Chiron. Chiron, the so-called wounded healer, he had a wound that it was a part of his mission, really, to create healing, to create medicine as a structure, a system. And he was also the mentor, the initiator of heroes. And the only reason he could be that is because his wife, Chariklo, is a great healer. And as I was looking at her and her position in this chart today, I'll just show you the chart one more time. She is up here in Aquarius, connecting to Venus in Gemini. Chariklo is a salve. She is a water nymph turned centaur. She went through a transformation in order to fulfill her purpose. I always think of her in terms of watery things, herbs, things that require water in order to live and grow and develop their medicine. So when I see Chariklo active in a chart, I now say, she's going to heal me. She's going to give me comfort and ease in the midst of what I'm going through. She brings a level of balance so that I'll make it through this transition. And right now she is communicating with Venus. She is amplified by the bright and shining Queen of Heaven, the goddess of love, the goddess of beauty, the goddess of abundance, the morning star who is about to go behind the sun and go into hiding for about 3 months. That's coming down the pike rather soon, but not yet. So we have support for what is being required of us right now. This is a big chart. It's a big calling. It's a big time on our planet. And I want to say servants, devotees, we who kneel at the altar of the divine feminine, who call upon her power, who are here to do her work, to be her hands, feet, voice, eyes, womb. This is a big time for us, and this moon is a time to be still, listen, get fully aligned, to align the unseen world with what appears in our outer world, and ultimately to take action from that place. And this is an important other factor I want to make sure I mention. I said, gather your tribe, gather your circle, your community. We have lots of us. We tend to work in smallish pods. And we all have a slightly different vibration, a slightly different job to do, a slightly different take or approach on how to be in this time. And it is critically important that we not criticize each other and distract ourselves by needing to be right and needing for it to be this way. We are united in knowing that we represent pathways to the feminine, pathways to wholeness, pathways to partnership. And so there may be discussion, there is learning, there may be the work of coming to consensus, but what there must not be is fighting and self-destruction within our collected circles. Acknowledging that those who see things somewhat differently are necessary just as they are, and their being right does not make us wrong, and vice versa. So that is what I leave you with this new moon. Incredibly potent time. Be blessed and come and join me here, right here in this space tonight in about a couple of hours. And we will take this into the realm of the felt and the sensual and the energetic, and not so much in the space up here. I love you. Thank you for being here.